Hi, Stockholm. Welcome to the Startup Acceleration in the Nordics panel. So my name is Jens Wernborg. I'm the Director of Startup Grind in Hong Kong, and I'm in Hong Kong right now. So let's see, we are adding in our panelists all coming in here. Hi, Stefan. See, Mehkar, Funda, Anders is coming in. And we have Nea and Alfredo. Great. So I'm really happy to be moderating this panel with you. You can see me as I moved from Stockholm to Hong Kong in 1998 with the dot-com boom. So I'm really curious to know what's happened since then. No, but I've been back. But let's start like this. Let's go through each one in the panel. Sort of short introduction, I am, and how my organization helps to accelerate startups. So let's start with Stefan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Stefan Stonestead. I'm the CEO of Connect East, and I've held the position for 2.5 years. Before that, I was working for a Finnish VC company called Innovestor. And but my background is from the financial sector. I worked in the bank sector for 25 years with everything, basically. FX trader, fixed income trader. Last 10 years. My last 10 years in the banking sector, then I was responsible for alternative investments in Nordea. But I also done some own investments, a handful in Swedish startups. It's a great place to be. Some short facts about Connect. First of all, we are a non-profit organization. We have a full national coverage in Sweden, operating from 5 regions. I'm head of East, which includes Stockholm, of course, and Mälardalen, cities like Örebro, Västerås, Linköping, and so forth. And we work on a national level with 300 companies per year. So it's a huge number. And some other good numbers. Last 3 years, we actually made a little investigations that show that we have actually managed to raise 1.2 billion Swedish during those last 3 years to startup companies. But if you ask, I think the majority would say that Connect, that is an angel network. That is true. We say that we are one of the largest angel networks in Sweden with approximately 500 angels. But we are so much more than that. The total network consists of 10,000 people in Sweden. And the keywords, I would say, is matchmaking and readiness. And in our processes, I mean, those 10,000 people, they are entrepreneurs, of course, they are experts, they are partners, they have some special competence that we can bring in our process to help the companies. So that is much what we do. And we're not only helping startups, we also try to educate our investor network with seminars and so on. And the readiness, I mean, what's in that? Of course, we help entrepreneurs, founders looking to raise money, to actually communicate with investors. They need to be ready. They need to understand what's the kind of risk reward profile for the investors. They need to be able to explain how much money they need now, tomorrow, what the money should be spent on, what value will it build, and also, if possible, at least have some kind of idea, what's the window of exit for my investors. So we put a lot of efforts. It's not just let's say a window for the companies. We really help them. So the hit ratio when they actually meet the investors gets higher.
Yeah, I really like the readiness word, because there's so much training and preparation that can help all these interactions to go smoother. Moving on, Funda.
Yes, fantastic to be here sharing the stage with these brilliant ecosystem builders. So I'm Funda Sezgi. I'm the managing director and the co-founder of Norrsken Impact Accelerator. I've been part of the Norrsken team since the beginning, setting up different functions, and recently shifted my focus to the Accelerator just because I love being close to the founders. So Norrsken at large is an ecosystem basically where entrepreneurs can find the knowledge, capital, and the network that they need in order to make it their job to make the world a better place. So we support companies who have a positive impact on people and the planet. And we have presence in Africa and Europe through our physical entrepreneurial hubs, as well as our VC funds. 2 more funds in the making, so there is more interest into bringing capital to impact. And the Accelerator in particular is where we have a global mandate to invest in the startups that we select. In 2 years' time, we have invested in 40 companies from around the world that are incredibly exciting, coming from over 2,000 applications each year. And what we do is basically we match them with, well, first we make an upfront investment in the teams, and then we match them with world-class mentors who are unicorn founders or serial entrepreneurs, people who have been on the trenches themselves and have been going through the blood, sweat, and tears of building scalable, successful businesses. And then, of course, we then match them with investors to help pave the way to their success. So, but that's basically, in a nutshell, what the Norrsken and the Accelerator is.
Well, thank you for the introduction. And yeah, there's so much we can do right now, or need to do right now, when it comes to make the world better and also into the future. Anders, I know you come from an organization that is also have a global footprint.
That's
Tell
right.
us a bit about yourself and how you help startups to accelerate.
Glad to be here. Thanks so much for the invitation, and we're very happy to cooperate with everyone here. So my name is Sandra Simonebeck. I'm a partner with the Nordic Antler team. We're a global organization. Some of you heard Magnus, our founder, in the keynote session this morning. What we are, we're an early stage VC supporting startup founders, the most exceptional at the very earliest stage of their journey, through things including co-founder matching, coaching, and of course, investments into these companies. So that's in brief what Antler does. I can go into more details later, but I'll keep it short for the sake of time and all the other questions we have to discuss.
Great, thank you. Nea, you come.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. So happy to be here sharing the stage with all you. So my name is Nea Harjanne. I am the CEO of Kiuas, the leading startup accelerator in Finland. We select around 40 startups a year to help. A bit of a difference with most of the accelerators is that we're not a VC fund, so we don't invest any money into the startups. But instead, we connect them with our brilliant coach pool of around 150 individuals, consisting of successful serial entrepreneurs, VC partners, angel investors, to create a fully customized program for the startups that are participating in the program. Another thing I always like to mention that aside from the programs, we've built then a free and open for all platform for startup founders to find co-founders, where we currently have around 2,000 Nordic founders that are looking for co-founders. So anyone who's in the audience and in need of a good co-founder, please go check out Kiuas Inside. I would be happy to continue on later on, but I'll leave some time for the other panelists to get their intros out.
Yeah, thank you. And I must say, I went to, while I did the background research on this panel, I did sign up for your portal. A lot of good information there. So it's great when people sort of just share, and then you can pick up the good ideas. Alfredo.
Yes, good morning, Jens. Thank you for the introduction and the invitation. I've been in the audience numerous times at your events. They set a very high standard, and I'm very happy to participate. So I'm Alfredo Jollon, the managing director of Techstars in Stockholm. Techstars manages $1 billion. Globally, we're founded in 2006, which makes us a teenager, not old enough to drink yet in Sweden. We're an operational investor supporting founders on their entrepreneurial journey. We accelerate startup success by helping them do more faster. We're built and run by entrepreneurs themselves who understand the complexities of scaling ideas and executing them. We are very purpose-driven. Our formula is capital plus programs plus connections equals opportunity. We're democratizing one of the most restrictive asset classes in the world. We're a different breed of gatekeeper. We open the gates, we don't close them. By round 6, a Techstars-backed startup is 6 times more likely to raise than the average non-Techstars startup in the PitchBook universe. 29% of our portfolio companies are led by women versus 15% on average in the EU and 14% in the US. The mechanics, we run a 13-week accelerator program, usually 2 times a year for 12 teams at a time. We run them solo and with large corporate partners like ABN AMRO, Equinor, and JP Morgan. We have a global footprint, 54 accelerators in 40 cities and 15 countries and leading tech hubs, Seattle to Singapore, Stockholm to Tel Aviv, London to Lagos. We operate at scale. We're a worldwide network, a worldwide founder network. We fund 650 startups a year. We've run 350 classes. We've funded 3,000 startups. We have 7,000 alumni founders. We're a mentor and investor network. We have 7,500 active mentors, 22,000 active investors. Our CRM has 750,000 names in it. In other words, every 14th person in Sweden would be in our network on a comparable basis. We're a success network. We have 19 unicorns in our portfolio. We've funded 100 companies worth more than $100 million. We've had almost 400 exits. SendGrid was sold to Twilio for $2 billion. PillPack was sold to Amazon for $1 billion. ClassPass was sold for $500 million. Our companies have a combined market cap of $75 billion, and our total portfolio value is over $150 billion. Finally, we're a fundraising network. We've had 6 IPOs, including 1 in Sweden, Cefello. Our companies have raised $24 billion lifetime. The vast majority of our companies raised within 6 months of exiting program. The average post-program raise is $1 million. That's equivalent to 10.5 million SEK today. Tomorrow, given the way the SEK is depreciating, that might be 15 million SEK. I have no idea, but it's $1 million on average. So that's a quick intro to what Techstars does.
It's almost a law of big numbers. I mean, if you have a big number and you make a small change, here in Hong Kong, we love the startup weekends, and I participate in a number of them, and it's a great way to sort of meet people. Mehkar, Founders Institute.
Yeah, thank you so much, James. I'm so happy to be here. And Alfredo, oh my God, after that introduction, how do you expect me to introduce myself? Yeah, it's great to be here. My name is Mehkar Sheikh, and I'm a social entrepreneur with a background in communication. My focus has been on advertising and PR, but my lifelong passion has been the education sector, where I've worked with the youth in a variety of teaching and management roles. That's how I keep myself young as well. I'm the managing director Nordics for Founder Institute, which is the world's largest pre-seed startup accelerator. We're based in Silicon Valley, and we help founders get to traction and funding with a global support network of startup experts and a very structured business building process. Since 2009, our accelerator programs have helped over, I'd say, 6,000 entrepreneurs raise about 1.75 billion in funding across 200 plus cities, and we're growing. Last year, we launched the Founder Institute here in Sweden, and this year we have expanded to the entire Nordic region, including Estonia. I'm happy to see some of our recent graduates here in the audience as well, so a big shout out to them. Yes, the Nordic region is very ripe. It's brimming with great ideas. So, of course, the expansion was very, very natural. Our mission, very briefly, is it's to empower communities of talented and motivated people to build impactful technology companies worldwide. And in the Nordics, we work in very close collaboration with all the other accelerators and other players in the startup ecosystem. Most of you have been to one or the other programs that we've had for Founder Institute. So yeah, it's a pleasure being here. Thank you, James.
Thank you. And it's a great panel. I'm humbled to be here. Before we start with the questions, if you in the audience have any questions, please put them in the chat, and Sokol will kind of pick them up and put them in a Google sheet so I can pick them up. I think like a month ago, I watched a Netflix documentary about sort of the music wonder, and they were doing a show about Sweden, and they asked Swedish musicians, like, what's the secret sauce of making music? And they were like, no, we don't want to speak about it. But I hope that you can help us here share maybe one word or one sentence, like, what is the secret sauce of Nordic unicorns? How can we have them? And we'll reverse the orders. We start with you, Mehkar. What would you say?
Oh my God, one word, Jens.
One word or one sentence?
Yeah, well, I would say, I kind of echo what Anna said in the morning. it is the schools, the Swedish, the Nordic school systems, the LGR 22, the curriculum, the way they begin, the entrepreneurial mindset they give to the students. And since I come from the education sector, I see that that is where everything begins. Oh my God, these kids are our secret sauce.
Yeah, the right that you don't stuff information. You're supposed to solve problems. Anders, your thought?
Yeah, sure. So a few things here. We're a small country in terms of population, but we're also a diverse country when it comes to nationalities and backgrounds. And I think this definitely is a benefit when creating startups. For one, we have to have a global mindset from day one to build a really great company. You need to look at international markets as opposed to just the home market. And I think that creates an inner drive that will carry the company for long. From a diverse point of view, we look at influences from other places. We're getting talent, we're getting ideas from many countries as well. And I think, the audience and the panel is a great testament to that here today. And B, we have a beautiful nature in the Nordics, and people treasure that. Therefore, I think Nordics has become a great place for building impact-driven companies, especially focusing on climate technologies and related fields. So I think those two things, global mindset from day one, and focused on preserving the planet and the earth that we have given birth to many great companies and many more to come.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, if you look back to the SKFs, the early companies who went around the world, well, because Sweden was a small market, and Nordics is a small market, you have to go abroad. Nea, what do you say? What's the secret sauce?
As you were asking for one word, I know that's a challenge, but I actually found a word that I like. Unfortunately, it's in Finnish, but it's sisu, which would be grit or resilience that you need to make it here in the cold, small north. So I think that mentality that the Nordic founders have is definitely one of the pieces of the secret sauce.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's cold, harsh, and you make great video games. Alfredo.
I love Nea's response, because if you ask a Finn for one word, you might often get zero, right? So it's really funny that I should speak right after Nea, because I observe this best in Finland, and I will also leave it to one word: hyper collaboration. The intersection of various ecosystem players, which I think Finland does the best in the Nordics, among the Nordic countries. One word: hyper collaboration.
Cool. Funda?
Well, I mean, just to build on what everyone highlighted so nicely, but I think the pay forward culture is really, really quite firm here. The entrepreneurs who have succeeded before or failed are all helping contribute to the success of the next generation ones. That's how we built the entire accelerator.
Yeah, help each other. And then Stefan, what would you say? One word or one sentence?
I would say we have a great infrastructure in the ecosystem as well, and also great success. I mean, the successful founders, they are today's rock stars, and they have actually paved the way and show it's possible to actually create things. But to become a unicorn, then I think, looking at actually the Swedish unicorn, they have been successful in attracting both talented people and also money from outside the Nordics. So they've been able to actually grow quite fast.
Yeah, and as one of the keynote speakers earlier spoke, the media attention when you were successful sort of spurred on, and I guess in the same way as when we were good in tennis, where everybody wants to play tennis, and then you build up that. So we kind of looked at what is the secret sauce and the word. Now, are there enough resources to build more unicorns in the Nordic, and are there any gaps? Mehkar, what do you say?
Well, in my opinion, like I said earlier as well, that the Nordics is brimming with resources, and there is, just go pick and choose, and everything is there. And I guess that is also part of the secret sauce, that everything is so readily available. And I come from a foreign background, a woman, a female entrepreneur from a completely different country with a completely different culture. And for me, it was very easy to get all the help that was possible. So I've really seen it firsthand how if you know how to get to the right places, there are a lot of resources. Having said that, yes, there are gaps, and here I'd like to just bring in a 90s nursery rhyme, which said that what are little girls made of? They're made of sugar and spice and everything nice. We are a lot more than that. And I guess one of the gaps is that women need more, they need more funding, they need to be seen more, they need more utrymme, they need more place, more space. They need to be heard and they need to be seen as more than girls as well. And sometimes it feels that the Nordics ecosystem is in the media, and where we see all the time that women have, I mean, they're driving trucks and they're flying planes and they're doing everything that men are doing. There's gender equality more than any other place in the world. But if you look under the surface, you do see a lot of gaps that still need to be filled. And that need to be filled from all directions, from the government, from the funding sector, from the non-profit sector, from the female founders themselves. So I would say that the gaps is again, it's the gender. We need to see things from the gender lens.
Yeah, and sort of and I guess also sort of informing about the opportunities. As you said, there are a lot of things available, but how do you make that, it can become like, you don't see the forest for all the trees. So you have to find the funding that's good for you.
Yes, that's true. And just add a bit to that point. That's a very good point, Jens, that when particularly people from a foreign background come, there's a language barrier. And it's the Nordic culture is, I wouldn't say it's the warmest of cultures, and people are not very open to taking the first steps in making new friends. So this is perhaps a gap that we can fill, that we can be more inviting to people with foreign backgrounds, and particularly those who are still learning the language.
Yeah, and to make people meet up. Anders, what would you say? Are there more resources or are there gaps?
I think to build great companies, talent is always the resource that is in short supply. So Sweden and the Nordic countries must become even better at attracting foreign talent in every possible way from both European countries and global markets as well. So I think that's one thing. Anna was talking about that earlier this morning, and how Stockholm, for example, is working on that field. But I think visa rules, housing availability, and the kind of housing rules and so forth are very important to work with. We have a new election coming up in a couple of weeks, and hopefully, that could be a catalyst of positive change. The other part, I think, is soft funding. As we see, funding is going down overall in the past quarter. I think soft funding is important. Two positive examples, I think, Norway and Denmark, where there's a very structured approach from the government side to soft fund companies at the very early stage and take that risk that sometimes is needed, especially in deep tech and those fields. I think that's definitely a good influence that, for example, Sweden can look at and be inspired by.
When you say soft funding, and I mean the previous panel we had from Almi. So what would you say? What is soft funding, and how would you get it to work in Sweden?
I think there are good mechanisms here in Sweden as well, so don't get me wrong. But if we look at, for example, Innovation Norway, we look at Växtfonden in Denmark, very extensive and very strong programs to really fund companies that are in need, that I think in some ways are even more extensive than what we see here in Sweden. So I think that's a good source of inspiration, where we can learn across the Nordic countries to be even better at sort of funding high risk, especially in deep tech, especially in climate tech at the earliest stages.
Yeah, good. Thank you. And Nea, what your thoughts in regards to resources and gaps?
I would have to agree with a lot of that my colleagues here have said. I think in general there is an abundance of resources, and sometimes I even feel that for the founders, a difficult thing might be to figure out which resources to focus on. There are so many early stage ecosystem players. It might be hard to not bounce around from program to program looking for resources instead of actually focusing on building the company. But then when it comes to building the company, I would agree with Anders that finding a lot of talented individuals can be hard. But I think currently we've seen enough Nordic unicorns that we're starting to have a great base of entrepreneurs that have been through that ride and are now able to transfer their knowledge to this new generation of entrepreneurs. But obviously would have to agree with Mehkar that the diversity of founders, especially the ones that receive funding, isn't at the level we'd like to see that. And I would say it goes beyond gender as well. I would love to see more resources in attracting people outside of tech background to the startup ecosystem. I love that we're now in the Kiuas program seeing people coming from the background of education. We have nurses that are now bringing in their domain expertise, combining it with co-founders that do have technical expertise, but making sure that our bubble doesn't consist of only people with technical background would be an important step for the health of the ecosystem.
Yeah, and also the connection to the actual end user. I mean, build great tech, but having that understanding of who am I doing this for, and also before we go on to the challenges. I mean, yes, the immigration or job. I mean, people are looking for employees, and then you get sort of snagged into the difficult situation of not getting visas and so on. I think there are a lot of things that can be done to streamline that. So that I mentioned the challenge. So what are the common challenges you hear from entrepreneurs to get started? And Alfredo, what would you say?
Thank you, Jens, for that question. It's always for us funding and how to get it. Money was free and it no longer is. The equity risk premium has skyrocketed. Venture is the riskiest equity there is. The US equity markets have declined 5% since the Fed declared war on inflation at Jackson Hole. On Friday, the Fed will continue raising, with rates going from 0% to somewhere between 300 and 400 basis points in less than 12 months. Central banks will continue to raise globally, especially in Europe. As we kicked off this panel discussion, Eurostat published their flash estimate for August EU CPI. It was 9.1%. At 9.1%, according to the rule of 72, if you know the rule of 72, the value of your money halves in 8 years. Do you know what inflation was in Estonia in August? 25%. The value of your money halves in 3 years at 25% inflation. So if you're wondering why those Estonian round sizes are so large, because they need to fund their inflation problem in Estonia. I'm joking, but money is becoming worth less in the Baltics. Companies will find it hard to finance. At the same time, they'll find it hard to grow. And we should be monitoring economic reports in the US and in the Eurozone. Anna Bremen, who's the deputy governor of the central bank, published a paper this morning and spoke, talking about the time when Sweden raised interest rates to 500% overnight. She was in gymnasium at the time. She was a high school student. She couldn't believe it. She wrote in her paper, she told the panel. But the Swedes need to do to defend the SEK. Many of you are old enough to remember the Nordic banking crisis of the early 1990s. We don't want to have it happen here again. Inflation needs to be fought. Interest rates are going up. The price of money is getting higher. And that is a very bad thing for early stage startups.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's scary how things become more and more expensive. And Funda, what are your points? What do you hear when you talk to people? What is the challenges?
Yeah, I mean, like other than the capital, which is obviously the first thing you hear from the entrepreneurs when you ask them what they need. I mean, it's like clearly access to talent. That is definitely a challenge. Access to founders as well, co-founders. So Nea, I would love to pick you up on that thread and try to understand whether that platform is for Nordic co-founders only, because we have companies from around the world that could actually benefit from these interactions as well. And it's really like getting to your first paying customer. That is, I think, the challenge before you get the money and the talent on board. So it's like a whole chicken and egg cycle that the entrepreneurs experience there. Like, how do I get to that point where I have results to show for that will get the money in, that will attract the big talent? So it's like, is it the vision and the story that needs to work out, or do I need to grind myself? And it's really a bit of a challenging process at the very beginning, I would say. And I think one of the things that we see a lot at Norrsken, that's like the entrepreneurs are challenged with getting the spotlight on themselves. There's so much noise, so many solutions, they're so small, like how do they get the word out there? And that's why we put a lot of emphasis and effort into to basically just uplifting the rock stars of our time as we see what like entrepreneurs are now. So they are the rock stars of our time. We need to put a big spotlight on them and help them get noticed by talent, investors, potential first customers, partners, and whatnot.
And Nea, what do you say about that? The co-founder directory, is it open for everybody?
Yes, it is open for everybody, and as it is online, and we encourage everybody to connect online as well. And we know that building companies remotely is possible these days. We do encourage anyone from anywhere in the world to join the platform. Don't have the exact numbers on how many continents do we have founders from, but it is definitely more than Europe.
Okay. Stefan, so when we look at challenges, I want to add on a question here because you're kind of connector as well, and what Funda said about getting that first customer and getting a first enterprise customer or business, I mean, getting a real signed contract. Where do you see the challenges and how can you help? Sort of, how should we get in front of the enterprise customers so we get that traction?
No, but I think as mentioned, thank you, Alfredo, for the history lesson. I was actually old enough to remember the 500%. But I think that the challenge is, of course, to finance your growth journey, and of course, there's also competition. A lot of ideas coming out and so on, and somehow there's a kind of limitation how much money it's out there. But I think also what people tells me, I mean, it takes time, it takes preparation. You need to meet a lot of investors, and of course, let's say if you don't have that traction yet, you have not proven your product is working, someone is actually willing to pay for it, then it's up to you. I mean, the investors, they put money in your hands, so they want to know you. They want to understand, is this person in front of me capable to deliver? Has the person the patience, the competence to create networks and so on. So it's extremely important. I say, to be maybe not to be negative, but I say 9 out of 10 companies that approaches us, they are too early because they need to have some traction, because otherwise, I mean, the delusion will be enormous. So that's one part. But of course, I think also networking is key. As you say, I mean, to be in front and have that first client, that first contract, you need to be extremely, I mean, use your network, try to get in to the right persons. And of course, we can also, from Connect, I mean, if we have those contacts and we see how this is clearly a potential cooperation, we will try to actually help out to open doors.
And maybe this is a question for another panel another day, but you know, the corporate innovation, when big corporates take in a cohort of startups, I mean, it's also a way to get started. But you said something about when they meet you, and so I would like to go for that. How can founders better prepare? I mean, what would you see that they have done before they knock on your door? Funda.
So I'm not going to go into the details of how to prepare your pitch deck. I think there's a ton of resources out there. Just get in there. It's not rocket science. Just like have the key components, make sure that you do your homework. But I think like what I would like to really highlight is that in order to build a product that your users absolutely love, you really need to understand your audience well and what their needs are. So get out there, talk to people, and make sure that your solution is actually something that works before you get onto scaling. I think that's like one big advice that I would give, and that's where I see a lot of startups struggling still. The product market fit, obvious one. But I also want to highlight the team dynamics. Again, Nea, great that you're building this platform. I know that Antler has been doing a fantastic job in bringing together the founders, but I think we all need to make sure that all our early stage teams ask the very right very difficult questions from the beginning. And because at the end of the day, 60% of the startups fail because the team dynamics don't work, or they haven't really, they basically went on a picnic rather than just like getting into the conflicting, difficult situations and understood each other's ambition levels. You know, sometimes it's a great team, but one really wants to be on a rocket ship and the other wants to build a successful company. And that's basically just a big stretch for both sides. So just have these big discussions early on is what I would recommend if you're building a team.
Yeah, and I would say that the outcome of that discussion, that you try to put it on paper so that you actually agree on what you're going to do. If somebody says, I'm going to spend this much time and less time and so on. Anders, how would you like founders to prepare? What do you say is the important things?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Thanks for that comment, and appreciate the collaboration. And so we invest both in companies that we help build the teams for, but we also can invest in companies that have just gotten started. They're still in the early stages. And for those, of course, we need to get to know them somewhere. So I'll take a bit of a concrete point here to highlight how some founders, not all, can prepare much better. I think for all of our investors, all of us investors, we do get a lot of intros by founders reaching out over various social media or different channels. But what they can do better, many of them, I would say most of them, is to personalize that outreach a bit more and really emphasize why you're the best investor for them and why this makes sense as a connection and why you're the first choice. It's very obvious when founders reach out or startup teams reach out, and it's a very mass outreach kind of approach. And I think everyone gets so much inflow and inbound deal flow that you have to prioritize the time somewhere. So whenever there's a lukewarm or a hot, warm intro, and that's where you prioritize the time. So the concrete advice to founders would be to really personalize that. Just spend 15 minutes would make such a big difference when reaching out to investors and saying why you're the right investors and how you can help each other moving forward. I think that's a very concrete piece of advice that most founders can do more. So some are great, learn from them, but spend the time on that investor outreach. Thanks.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, making sure that you spend a little bit of time on the personalization, but that also goes for everybody here in the sort of audience who are looking for jobs. I mean, to write that cover letter that explains why are you going to work for that company, not just the sort of the copy and paste. Mehkar, what do you say in regards to how can people prepare?
Yeah, I just like to add a bit to what Funda and Anders have already said, that yeah, all of that preparation is important, but I suppose that one of the most important things that founders need to prepare is the mindset before they walk into anything. They have to be open to kill their darlings if they have to. They need to know that they might need to pivot at some point, and that is okay. That is how it works, and they don't have to. They should have the mindset of taking in advice. So I'm going to talk from my experience from Founder Institute. We're a tough program. We're very straightforward. We give it as it is, and we prepare our founders for the real world where they have to face the investors. So in our previous pipeline, we had almost 1,000 applications, and then we ended up with only 7 companies that managed to graduate. Why? Because of the mindset and because of the grit that the founders need to have before they're ready to even take their pitch to an investor. So just at the pre-seed level, they have to prepare the grounds for growth and taking in all sorts of advice and seeing which one works best for them. So an open mind and the right mindset is something that they need to do. It is a lonely journey to be an entrepreneur, and it's not something that everyone does laughing all the way along. So there is a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. For those of the founders in the audience that are just starting in, my concrete advice here would be to go in with the right mindset. And I'd also like to quote here, I can't help it, I know the time is limited, but the chairman of Alibaba, Jack Ma, he said that today is difficult, tomorrow is even more difficult, day after tomorrow is beautiful, most of the people will die tomorrow evening. So you have to make sure that you pitch through, you push through all the way to reach day after tomorrow and the time when the time comes. So you have to be ready for that.
But yeah, and I think that you said it's a lonely journey, then that also connects to Nea, to having a co-founder and try to work as a team.
Absolutely.
Stefan, I saw you. Yeah, Stefan, I saw you had your hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I mean, preparation is extremely important, of course, and also be realistic when you actually meet the investors. I mean the milestones, be sure that you can deliver on them. I mean, don't put in any castles. So they have some kind of, this is kind of, let's say, not the best scenario, but some kind of middle scenario, something like that. And also try to be on investors' radar early, before actually you need the money, because they want to see if you can execute. So and try to be involved in networks when you actually meet a lot of investors, but do it not the week before you need the money. Do it a long time before that.
Alfredo, what do you say? How to best prepare?
I must confess my Wi-Fi dropped out while you asked the question, so I missed the last few minutes. I have one of these highly unstable housing situations that you find in Stockholm if you're international talent. Just as a side, my landlord gave my family of 6 3 days to move out this weekend. So we promptly contacted some very good Swedish lawyers. So I'm going to pass on this question because I didn't hear it.
It was the question, how do people best prepare? But I think one thing that I learned last week was at an event, they said, okay, who should you hire? And they should say, you should hire a truth sayer. And I thought, well, you don't want people who lie, but that wasn't the point. The point was somebody who actually, I think somebody mentioned kill your darling, somebody who would actually say, no, we should not do that because it's not good enough. You have to have people who are honest about the business. Now, mindful of time, I want to go through all of you so that you basically, the question is, who should connect you and why and how? And starting with you, Stefan, who should connect with you? Who do you want to be connected to, and how should they connect?
Everyone, I was about to say, but let's say if we somehow, of course, entrepreneurs, not in the earliest stage. I think you should try to get all the grants, all the soft financing via Almi or other players as you can, because actually to bring in equity is, I would say, the most expensive source of capital. So try to build some traction. I mean, come to us when you actually have it. You don't need to be cash flow positive, but somehow you have proven yourself, your product works, someone is willing to pay for it as well. And you want to have angel investors on board, of course. So that's for the entrepreneurs. Then, of course, we want to build a larger angel network. So if you are business angel today or plan to be and so on, contact us, not only to invest, get the deal flow, also to get education and so on. And then, of course, we the network, the more competent partners we have, the stronger we get. So if you're a consultant or have some specific expertise that could be thrown out on the entrepreneurs, please contact us.
You mentioned something there. You said education. So do you help angel investors understand how to become an angel investor?
Yeah, now how to become, of course, you need
or what you should do.
Also how to conduct a DD. We go through valuation models and so on. Yeah, and the purpose is, of course, to make them do better investments.
Yeah, because I believe that we can get more people in there to help invest, and if they learn how to, they can feel more confident. Hey, I can also do an investment, sort of to.
So the next education starts on the 13th of September.
Okay, and it's on your website, I guess. Cool. Funda, who should connect with you and how?
Okay, so I will first answer it for the accelerator side and then Norrsken at large. So for the accelerator, you can basically just connect with me on LinkedIn. I try to pick up messages as much as possible. Or you can reach out to me on email, sometimes slower there, which is funda@norrsken.org. And the accelerator will open up for applications again once we complete the 8 weeks sprint we are currently running. So I have a situation like a burning house in the background, more or less, like 20 teams from around the world, 50 entrepreneurs doing a brilliant job and now getting their investor introductions. So super exciting, but the next one will be open right after for applications. And then on the Norrsken side, we support, by the way, maybe I should just highlight again that we support entrepreneurs who are creating positive impact on people or the planet. So could be any impact sector, but it has to be the case that the entrepreneur's business model is basically impact is baked into the business model. So it's not an add-on that you do as a favor, but more that as you scale your company, your impact also scales, is what we are looking for. And I mean, other than the accelerator, we have the house in Stockholm, as well as the house that we just opened up in Kigali. I don't know if there are any entrepreneurs interested in Africa here. So you basically don't get investment in those spaces, but I get lots of other types of support helping you prepare for the investment stage. And then we have the VC fund in Sweden that has a Europe mandate mainly. You can reach out to them at investments@norrsken.vc. I can write all of this in the chat afterwards. And then the Africa Fund, I don't know if this is of relevance here, but Norrsken 22 Fund also invests in startups again, doing the good work.
Thank you. And I mean, we have people from all over the world in the audience today, and I guess you know Naimul, but you should definitely also talk about what Startup Grind does in Africa, how we can connect about that. Anders, who should connect with you and how?
Sure. So in brief, entrepreneurs should connect with us, both serial entrepreneurs and first-time entrepreneurs looking to build companies. And this can be just before they take the first steps, or when they've taken a couple of steps and already established a team. We do build cohorts twice per year in every location where we exist. We have now 25 global locations. So you can check antler.co and find a list of them in every continent. Right now, for example, we just started 144 entrepreneurs in a cohort in the Nordics that we are working with for a few months before we invest. Next cohort starts in the Nordics in February, but we have a rolling start as well across the globe. So super excited to get in touch with many people here in the audience. And we're here to support entrepreneurs to build the businesses that they want to build. And also appreciate the collaboration with everyone on the panel here. You know, we have companies invested in by Techstars, as well as in the Norrsken Impact Accelerator, and look forward to your week next week as well, the Impact Week, as well as Founders Institute and Nutty Ventures and so forth, Connect as well. So great session today, and thanks a lot. I look forward to getting in touch with many of you.
Thank you. Yeah, and Nea, who should connect with you and how?
I think there's a popular theme creating here. I want to gonna continue on with the whole theme of entrepreneurs, but especially the ones that are just starting out. As said, we do not invest, but instead we offer our resources and our network into your use. Something that sets us apart a bit is the fully customized approach that we have. Even though we do 20 startups at a time, we've figured out a way to fully customize the program to the most specific pain points that each company is currently facing. So if you're looking to do the things that move the needle for your company, then we are the right place to come to for that. And then, as I mentioned, the other part is if you are looking for co-founders, you have an idea and you need a team, please check out Kiuas Inside. I'll be happy to leave the link into the chat. Or then if you're an individual and you don't have your own idea, please go and check out all the amazing projects on the platform so that you can join the teams. And then on a third component, as Kiuas is heavily built on the idea of transferring the knowledge from the successful previous generation of entrepreneurs to the new one. So we are always on the lookout for experienced founders that are looking to give back to the ecosystem. So if you have a spot in your heart for mentoring and giving back to the new generation, we're always looking for talented coaches to join Kiuas as well. Thank you again from my side as well. This has been very, very fun.
And if you want to be a mentor, you also reach out via the portal.
Yes, or you can reach out to me directly. We have all of our contact information on our webpage, but I'll leave a link in the chat.
Thank you. Alfredo.
So who should contact us? And these words are chosen very carefully. Very strong pre-seed founder teams, team, who want to raise institutional money and scale overseas, especially in the US. Our program thesis is outsiders, rebels, people who are marginalized or feel that they are. That could be immigrants, underrepresented founders, deep tech founders, hardware manufacturers. If I had to choose between somebody from the Förorten, the Swedish suburbs, or somebody from Handelshögskolan, the Stockholm School of Economics, I will choose somebody from the suburbs. It's what Nea was talking about, the sisu, the grit, the resilience. I'm an outsider in Stockholm. I know how hard it is to be here. This can be a deeply, deeply insular place, and we're trying to shake things up. So we're contrarians. If you're not a VC case, talk to us. We oppose the herding behavior that investors exhibit. So if you're having a hard time having somebody talk to you, we'll take the other side of that trade. How? Passively or actively, apply to our program. Applications open next Tuesday for next spring. You can also give first, show that you contribute to the ecosystem. We do and we'd like you to build it as well. If you're gonna be part of Team Techstars, get to know us, don't be shy, start a conversation, come to our events. We have an office in Södermalm, we have an open door policy, come to Fredagsöl, Friday beers, engage with us on social media. We have a Techstars Stockholm Instagram page, we're on LinkedIn, but let me be frank, the Nordics have many superpowers, networking is not one of them. I have 2 pet peeves that I'll announce here. Do not send unsolicited LinkedIn invites without a note. You wouldn't send somebody a letter with a blank envelope. Why should you send somebody a LinkedIn connection request and not say why you want to meet? All of us, I'm sure, receive hundreds of them. Please give us some context, exhibit minimal networking skills, tell us why you want to connect. The second pet peeve is do not post your Y Combinator video to your Techstars application. Okay, just don't do that. You don't apply to Oxford with your Cambridge application. And we have sourced from everybody on this panel, pretty much. We have Founder Institute, Kiuas, Antler, and Norrsken applicants to our program. We love the collaboration, the ecosystem. Just do those 2 things. Don't post your YC video. Everybody wants to get into YC. Almost nobody does. The same is true of Techstars. And don't send unsolicited LinkedIn invites. Possess some minimal networking skills and get stronger and give first.
Yeah, I'll pick you up on coming by your office when I'll visit Sweden in the mid of September. But yeah, make sure that you make your stuff for the people that you're sending it to. Mehkar, who should connect with you and how?
Yeah, well, Founder Institute it's the largest network of investors. We have startup experts, we have entrepreneurs. So I invite anyone from all of these 3 areas to come connect with us, and we can work together in lots of different ways. We're always looking for mentors. What Founder Institute offers is a very structured accelerator program of 14 weeks. So that program is just a small part of the Founder Institute experience. So we're looking for people who are who just have an idea, perhaps, who've not even think about building it into anything yet, who just don't quit your day job yet. Come join us, see how, go through the process of pre-seed, go through the process of actually building your idea into something, into a company, go through the grind a little bit and get the taste of it before you can pass on to some of the other wonderful accelerators that we have here. You can connect with us through our LinkedIn pages. We're there on social media. You can write directly to me. We have a network in over 200 plus cities. Just write to anyone and you will reach the right place. So wherever I see a lot of countries represented in the audience today. So if you just click on fi.co, you'll get all the information of all the countries where we are at. And yeah, that's who we are.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, James, yourself and everyone else on this panel here today. It's been such a pleasure being here.
Well, yeah, thank you, Stefan, Funda, Anders, Nea, Alfredo, and Mehkar. Thank you for a great chat. I've learned a lot. And yeah, as I said, we are right on the hour. So Naimul will take us to the next panel. So thank you. And I hope to, well, I'll also try to pass by Helsinki. So I'll see you guys. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Such a pleasure.
Thank you, and hi, Anders, Alfredo, Nea, Funda. Thank you. Okay.